Need some help?
I do.
What are you doing?
The first time my neighbor held my waist, it was supposed to keep me from falling off a bicycle. Nothing more. I was married. He knew it. I knew it. And yet, a few months later, he became the person I thought about every morning. The worst part? He wasn't the one who crossed the line first. My name is Sophia. 3 months after my husband and I moved into our new neighborhood, I decided I wanted to change my life. Not dramatically. Just enough to feel like myself again. For years, life had become the same routine. Wake up, work, cook, sleep, repeat. One Saturday morning, I bought a bicycle. The problem? I barely knew how to ride it. I could balance for a few seconds, then panic, then fall. My husband Daniel laughed when I told him, "You're too old to start learning now." I knew he was joking. At least I think he was. Still, it hurt. The next afternoon, I was struggling in front of our house when someone called out from across the street. "Need some help?" It was my neighbor. His name was Ethan, a few years older than me. Tall, athletic, always smiling. The kind of person who made conversations feel effortless. I laughed nervously. "I think this bike is trying to kill me." He laughed. "Give me 30 minutes. That's how it started. 30 minutes became an hour. An hour became 3 afternoons that week. Every time I almost fell, he caught the bike. Sometimes my shoulder, sometimes my arm, sometimes my waist. Never in a way that felt inappropriate. Just enough to keep me from crashing. By the end of the week, I could finally ride without falling. And for some reason, I wasn't excited about learning to ride. I was excited about seeing Ethan again. After I finally learned how to ride, I thought the lessons would end. They didn't. A few days later, Ethan knocked on my door. "Want to go for a ride?" I looked at my husband. Daniel was sitting on the couch, scrolling through his phone. Before I could answer, he shrugged. "Go have fun." So I did. At first, it was just biking. A few miles around the neighborhood. Then 10 miles. Then 20. Before I knew it, those rides became my favorite part of the week. We talked about everything. Family, dreams, regrets. The things people usually keep hidden. The strange thing was how easy it felt. With Ethan, I never had to think about what to say. The conversation simply flowed. Sometimes we'd stop near a lake and sit on a bench for an hour. Sometimes we'd buy coffee and talk until sunset. And every time I came home, Daniel barely asked how my day had been. One evening, Ethan looked at me and smiled. "You seem happier lately." I laughed. Maybe it's the exercise. But deep down, I knew that wasn't true. The bike wasn't what I looked forward to anymore. It was him. Have you ever started doing something for one reason, and then realized you were staying for a completely different one? Because that's exactly what was happening to me. And for the first time, that realization scared me. As the weeks passed, it became harder to ignore what was happening between us. Not because either of us said anything, because of the little things. The way he remembered every detail I told him. The way he noticed when I was upset before I said a word. The way he looked at me when he thought I wasn't paying attention. One afternoon, we stopped near a quiet trail outside town. Neither of us seemed in a hurry to leave. The sun was setting, the air was warm, and for a few minutes, neither of us spoke. Then Ethan broke the silence. "I should probably tell you something." The moment he said those words, my heart started racing. I already knew. Somehow I already knew. He looked away for a second, then back at me. "I know you're married." I nodded. "And I respect that." I nodded again. "But I'd be lying if I said I don't think about you." My stomach dropped. Not because I was shocked. Because part of me had been waiting to hear it. The truth was, I thought about him too. Far more than I should have. But hearing the words out loud made everything real. For a moment, neither of us moved. Neither of us spoke. Then I finally whispered, "Ethan, I can't." His expression changed immediately. Not anger. Not disappointment. Just sadness. The kind of sadness that comes from hearing an answer you already expected. He nodded slowly. "I understand. And somehow that hurt even more. Because he wasn't trying to convince me. He wasn't fighting for me. He was simply accepting my decision. And I had no idea that would be the moment everything changed. The next morning, I expected a message from Ethan. There wasn't one. A day passed. Then another. Nothing. At first, I told myself it didn't matter. After all, I was the one who had rejected him. What did I expect? But as the days turned into weeks, the silence became impossible to ignore. No texts. No bike rides. No accidental encounters. No coffee stops. Nothing. It was as if he had disappeared from my life overnight. And somehow that hurt more than I wanted to admit. One Saturday morning, I rode my bike alone. The same trail. The same lake. The same bench where we'd spent hours talking. Everything was exactly the same. Except him. Have you ever missed someone so much that every place reminded you of them? That's how I felt. The worst part wasn't losing his attention. It was losing the person who made me feel seen. At home, Daniel noticed something was wrong. Everything okay? I almost laughed. For months, he hadn't noticed anything. Now suddenly he noticed I was sad. I wanted to tell him everything. Instead, I simply nodded. I'm fine. But I wasn't. Because every day I found myself looking across the street, hoping to see Ethan. And every day I felt a little more empty when I didn't. For months, I had convinced myself I wasn't in love with him. Now I wasn't so sure anymore. 3 weeks later, I finally saw him again. I was riding through the park when I spotted his bike near a small cafe. For a second, my heart jumped. Without thinking, I stopped. Then I saw her. A woman sitting across from him. Laughing. Smiling. Leaning forward the same way I used to. And suddenly, I couldn't breathe. The jealousy hit me so hard it shocked me. Because jealous people don't react that way to friends. Jealous people react that way when they're afraid of losing someone they care about. Someone they love. For months, I had been lying to myself. Telling myself Ethan was just a neighbor. Just a friend. Just someone who helped me learn how to ride a bike. But watching him laugh with another woman destroyed every excuse I'd been hiding behind. That night, I couldn't sleep. The next morning, I did something I promised myself I would never do. I knocked on his door. When he opened it, we simply stared at each other. Neither of us knew what to say. Finally, I spoke. I miss you. The words came out before I could stop them. His eyes softened. For a moment, neither of us moved. Then he quietly asked, "What do you want, Sophia?" And for the first time, I didn't know the answer. Because no matter what I chose, someone was going to get hurt. A week later, Daniel found out. Not because he caught us. Not because he read messages. Because he finally saw what had been in front of him all along. The distance. The silence. The way my eyes changed whenever Ethan's name came up. One evening, he sat across from me at the kitchen table. And for the first time in years, he looked terrified. "Are you in love with him?" The question shattered me. Because I couldn't answer. Not honestly. Not without breaking everything. Tears filled my eyes. Daniel looked away. And in that moment, I realized something. This was never really about bicycles, or Ethan, or even marriage. It was about feeling seen, feeling heard, feeling important. And somewhere along the way, I had stopped feeling those things at home. The truth is, I never told anyone what happened next. Not Ethan. Not Daniel. Not even my closest friends. Some stories don't end with a clear answer. Some choices stay unfinished. What I can tell you is this. One man taught me how to ride a bike. The other taught me what commitment meant. And for a very long time, I wasn't sure which lesson mattered more. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and join Dark Whispers for more emotional stories, impossible choices, and unforgettable moments. And tell me honestly, if you were Sophia, who would you choose?